Tino, how are you? Agustin, I'm sorry. Agustin, I love you. I call you Tino.
I know.
Welcome. Good evening, people. Good evening and good morning and good afternoon somewhere out there in the world. This is EBE and
Steve Marin.
all right, on the face of a hero. And we have a dynamic hero here today. My. What'd you think of his bio?
Oh my God, I am so impressed. I love it. I love the idea of people giving back. That's the whole thing. A lot of people are out there, they're selfish. They says, I'm just gonna do for me. These people that are out there, they're just, they can't help themselves, they need to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, the old saying and that. And no, people need help. People need help. And Marcus, our guest, he has done that. He is
Amazing, isn't it?
absolutely.
And we're going to hear his story. He
Yes.
is on the platform today so that we can know a little bit more about who he is and why he does what he does. When you are driven from the heart and from your spirit, you do things that you don't even really pay attention to. Did I just do all of that? Did I just help all those people? We don't even think like that. And I know that Brother Marcus never thinks like that. And I am actually honored that he accepted this invitation because he doesn't like to be in the spotlight. He does not like to be in the spotlight. But today, as we said off the air, today is your day. You are the hero. And he is a hero, right, Agustin? I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so, as we say, give credit where credit is due. And so, our special guest today, our hero on this show today is, I'm going to say minister because he is serving a ministry, Marcus Martin. He is a man of God, first of all. He loves God and he loves people and he has a great big heart. But I don't want to talk about him. I want him to talk about himself.
Right.
I don't want to steal his thunder because, there's always a story behind why we do what we do. And I really want everyone to know who Marcus Mecum. I'm saying Marcus Mecum. Oh, look who I just thought of. Oh my gosh. I'm sure Minister Marcus Martin knows who that is. Well, let's not keep anybody waiting. Without further ado, here's our special hero, Brother Marcus Martin. Hello there. Good evening.
So great to have this opportunity to join you and Augustine and be able to share with the audience who Grace Beyond Borders is. So,
Well, first of all, hold on. Let me back it up. People need to know. See, you see how he's changing it?
I did.
No, we have to know who Marcus Martin is. First of all, many people don't know who you are and where you're from and what you're all about. Who is Marcus Martin?
Wow. Well, where do I start? We go back
Childhood.
to early years of growing up in East Chicago and experiences attending Eugene Field School. A very diverse population and friendships I developed along the way were just so dynamic and part of my development. And then going on from elementary school directly into high school at East Chicago, Washington High School, where, wow, I'm so fond of that experience because of the diversity. And I don't know if there's any other schools that are like East Chicago. And just the relationships that were built during that time, and even post graduation, all the friendships. Whenever I'm out somewhere, I see someone that graduated from 71. You would think we're the best of friends the way we greet each other and stop and communicate, because that was just the power of that type of environment that impacted my growth and development during that time. And I can go right on into college, where I ended up at Texas Christian University, continuing my dream of playing football. And that was my dream. That was my hope, the one day to be a professional football player. But after a year and a half of that experience, things kind of fell off track, and I did not continue after that. Had a good experience though. Had some good opportunities to play and run a couple of touchdowns, and this really experience with college football is like. It's not like you see on television. There's a whole different thing that happens in practice and behind the scenes before you get to the big, the game. So I got a chance just to kind of see the interaction and learn a little bit more about sometimes exploitation. Mm-hmm. And those things begin to build up in my mind about just how the value of humans are based on your performance. Not based on who you are, but based on what you can contribute, your performance. I remember after running a touchdown against Baylor University, actually I was injured, I sprained my ankle, but I was on this emotional high at that time. So I really didn't get, take care of my ankle. But I remember limping out of the dressing room and being handed an envelope. Mm-hmm. And here I was, probably the poorest kid on the campus, believe it or not. And I get handed an envelope, and I look like, okay, what is this? And they looked at me, didn't say anything, and I walked away, and I opened the envelope up, and lo and behold, there was some cash in there that I could use. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, and you see those experiences. But also you see sometimes exploitation, a lot of exploitations in that industry, that field. But, I returned to East Chicago after I graduated in the teaching field. I was biology and actually I did a stint of teaching science for my student teaching at TCU. That was just a great experience also, because I realized I wanted to do more than just at the end of the day check out and go. I actually spent time after school with some of the kids to help them and encourage. Sometimes it's just encouragement to say, hey, you can do well on the test if you just take some time out and study. And kids do it just from that simple push. They would actually do it. And I would ask them, like, wow, you got a good grade this time. They said, well, you said I could do it. Wow, was that easy? Right. Just encouraging the kids and challenging them. And that was 6th grade where I was teaching. And those kind of experiences, you play a lot in terms of your life and where you're going. But after graduating from TCU, I returned home, and it was, I really didn't want to go directly into teaching. I wanted to do something a little different. And I got tied up. I got called into coaching girls softball. Now, I don't know if either you're sports, athletes or whatever, but playing a sport and coaching is 2 different things.
True.
Yeah. And I don't have any idea how to teach or, coach a team. I just kind of thrust in that during the summer program. I ended up, that was part, the summer work program. And it just happened. I don't know if you're pro baseball fans, but the Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles coach was teaching on PBS Channel 11 about the fundamentals of baseball. At that time, now, things don't just happen. I'm a believer, things don't just happen. I just happened to be at home, and this program came on, and I took those fundamentals and utilized them to have 3 championship teams in 3 years of coaching girls softball here in East Chicago.
Nice.
And the experience was so great. For me and for the girls. And when I get to our Women Children's Mission here in East Chicago, my legal counsel that really handled all the paperwork for our mission actually played shortstop on one of my championship teams. And when I ran into her prior to us obtaining the building, she told me, "Well, you taught us to be champions." I was like, "Wow."
Wow.
And she ended up really playing a very integral role in making sure that every I was dotted, every T crossed, everything for our building. So all the paperwork, she handled that, and it was truly a blessing because you know sometimes people don't realize all that's needed
Oh,
when you
Right.
move into this arena, and that was huge because you know the tons of paperwork that was coming through, and she took care of all of that and made sure that we had everything that we're supposed to have before we made the down payment, pass on the down payment checks to make sure everything was taken care of. So I was grateful for her. But just seeing and remembering some of the experiences in East Chicago growing up, this made me really get involved with working with youth. So I began a career actually working at the Pennsylvania Center for Twin City Community Services back then, where Tom McMullen was the CEO. And that really thrust me into just that desire to be creative and working with young people, having some freedom to really work with them in some programming. And then that kind of transitioned into working for the recreation department of East Chicago during that time. It was just recreation. It hadn't merged with the park department yet. But, you know, working there and also during the latter part of the 8 years there, I was substitute teaching at East Chicago Roosevelt before it became Central. So all of that, just being involved in understanding the trust building and those type of relationships. And it was at the Clemente Center where really I had one of the most dynamic youth councils there that I helped create. And that was just an awesome experience. And despite, you know, you get into positions sometimes it's not where you want to be financially, but the experience is so great, you just say, okay, I'm just going to sacrifice and do this for now. But later on, I was promoted in East Chicago when Park and Recreation merged to Recreation Coordinator for the city. And so, you know, doing that, but there was just a deeper desire in terms of my work. And I ended up working with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northwest Indiana, primarily out of the John Will Anderson Boys and Girls Club in Gary.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, now we're talking about 20 plus years of just with Boys and Girls Club in various capacities. But now I'll get to the calling in which attending Apostolic Church of God in Chicago, where I ended up going, not realizing that how large the church was. Initially 1,500 people, and then they built a new sanctuary to set 2,500. Well, I didn't come from a church background, so there was a lot of people for me. and you know, just seeing that. But during that time, you know, going to church faithfully and things, I just felt uncomfortable and felt like, well, I should be doing more. And I just didn't know what to do because I worked an evening job, and most of the ministries operated, you know, in the evenings. But one did not. One operated on Sunday after the service, and found out it was called Feeding the Homeless for Christ Outreach. And that was in October 2001. I had my first baptism into ministry work. And this ministry was on the streets. It wasn't behind, you know, inside the church. Hey, everybody come here. No, we were on the streets reaching out to people. And if you know Chicago, where 63rd and Cottage Grove is in Chicago, you're familiar? Okay.
Familiar.
Well, that was one of my corners that I was trained on. 63rd and Cottage Grove, 47th and Cottage Grove, and a number of other streets in Chicago, but primarily on the west side at the Algell Park Field House and Union Park Field House in Chicago. Those were the big places where we had the much larger events every single month. So I got a lot of training during that time and a better understanding of what was going on in the homeless population. But around, let's say 2008 of December, I just felt this urge to start looking over in Lake County. While I was working with Boys and Girls Club, I was the administrative office in Gary. And I just felt this urge to really begin to look at what was happening in our neck of the woods. And I won't forget on 15th Avenue and Broadway, 15th Avenue and Broadway, there's a gas station. And on my way home, I stopped at the gas station. And I remember this lady approaching me. She stood back and she said in this real small voice, she was asking me for something. And I couldn't hear her, and I, got a little closer. And she said, could you get me a $1 sandwich from the restaurant that was there? I said,
sandwich.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Is it a $1 sandwich?
A $1 sandwich. And I said, sure, but I was ready to get more than just a $1 sandwich. But that's all she wanted. She refused any other thing. And that really broke my heart. I'm like, wow. That's all she asked me for. Other people ask for $5 and they want this, they want a lot more. But she just wanted something to eat. The place sold more food, dinners, but all she wanted was just a $1 sandwich. And that really moved me. And I remember communicating with her another time, and she was telling me some of her progress because she was in a homeless situation. And those kind of things is really begin to draw you into your purpose and why I'm here. So moving forward, I really felt that God was calling me to do something in that arena. Wasn't sure exactly, but something related. And I was still working with the Homeless Outreach Ministry in Chicago. We're very, very active in leadership there and did a number of key things working with the team, the volunteers. And Liz, I did something, similar to what Pastor Muncy does on a whole different level, illustrated sermons. Mm-hmm. They call them illustrated sermons. People call them gospel skits. But I led that and found out there weren't any rehearsals for it. It was just asking volunteers, giving them a script and say, if God speaks to your heart, can you do this? And people would bring a real life experience out there to really touch the people who are out there watching it. It really moved them in understanding the gospel of Jesus Christ and moving them into coming to the altar. I mean, it was such a powerful experience. So I thought that my life would just be there until I, retire. And I didn't know that I would be, continuing outside of that. But that's where my training took place, and I was there until 2019. So as I began to look in the area of East Chicago, I understand in smaller cities and towns, homelessness does not look like it would in a big city. You go to Chicago, you see homelessness in various places, exit ramps, in the streets, by gas stations, any place, you see the panhandlers out there. When you get off the expressway to the stoplight, there's, usually the panhandlers working there. But in Chicago, I wasn't seeing that. So in 2013, while sitting in the library on Chicago Avenue, now I got to have my strategy and plans on, okay, Grace Beyond Borders. We got this part. Okay, you got to plan. You got to have a plan in place. But during that time, I was planning. I put my earbuds in and said, let me take a little break. And just as clear as we're talking here, I heard in my spirit, you're not spending enough time on the streets. Mm. I took my earbuds out. I said, oh, okay. So at the end of June 2013, I went out I began the outreach on the streets. And that meant going to places where the targeted population was hanging out in local parks. But in that process, seeing where understanding the drug addiction and that was going on out there, and the morning people, what particular drug, the heroin was out in the mornings. I didn't ask me a question. They told me this. This, white people are sitting out there. No, really don't. But because they want to get that, they looking for that fix. I said, oh, okay. But also knowing your cocaine that was around that area, and then around the perimeter of the park, outside the park, crack cocaine. But the king of them all, alcohol. So in that environment, I was asked by alcoholic to pray with the people. I said, wow. I said, okay. I was like, okay, God, how do I do this? And so that was the beginning of what we call a prayer circle, where people would be, just hold up hand. Anybody want to come and pray? So I would have anywhere from 10 or 12 people that would come out. Then I received a call from one of the Christian sisters from Highland, who was part of a parent group working with Ileana Christian High School in Lansing. And she said, on Wednesday and Fridays, we're responsible for the lunches. And she said, we have all these lunches left over. You think that you can utilize those lunches? I said, oh, let me think about it. But in the end, I was able to take those lunches they had, hot lunches. I had the food bags to keep them warm. Wednesdays, different type of sandwiches, and on Fridays was usually pizza. And I took that out to the park and to serve the people. But we had a prayer circle. We had a sign-in sheet. Well, my circle grew larger. And, more people came. But, that wasn't a requirement that you came to the prayer circle. But I remember a couple of people telling me, we didn't come here to get anything to eat. We don't want anything. We just come here for the prayer.
Wow. That's the best meal. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And so you start seeing how God is moving, and you realize, the anointing that's there, and how God, will utilize us when we are surrendered vessels to him. I was in a very dangerous spot because drive-bys would happen in this area. But of course, I was in tune with the Holy Spirit, because if he says it's time to go, then I'm going.
It's gone. Let's go.
But the people respected, and they really, and I really was out there twice a week, pretty much from 2013 to 2018. And during that time, I remember one of the women coming up to me. I want to say it was around 2014, and said, I've been looking all over for you. I knew one of the, people out there had your phone number. She said, I've been looking for you. She said, I'm just tired. I'm ready to get off the streets. I'm ready just to get away from here and go into recovery. So I said, oh, okay, sure. So we met the next morning. She was, Pam was very sincere about wanting to make that move, which is kind of uncommon sometimes. But we ended up taking her to Victory Outreach in Chicago, where she participated in their program and came back here. And lo and behold, Pam is still walking with the Lord to this very, very day.
And on that note, you're mentioning Pam. I'm going to try to play a video. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Face of a Hero, and the spotlight hero today is none other than my brother, Minister Marcus Martin. He's the founder and the executive director of Grace Beyond Borders. It is a non-for-profit organization, and he has had a heart to give back, but to help the homeless. And you're going to hear of the places that he has truly gone under and may have risked his life in some cases. And we're going to hear from him in just a few minutes, but bear with me, guys. I am actually going to try to put in a video here. So bear with me. I I'm not too savvy, but I'm going to do my best to share this real quick, because I believe that, homelessness, the numbers are rising.
Oh,
Absolutely.
they're off the charts.
Yep.
They are rising, and the thing is, what do we do? What are we doing about it? Are you part of the problem, or are you part of the solution? Right? And that, I'm asking everyone to answer that for yourselves. But don't be so quick to answer and then not answer right. Are you part of the problem or part of the solution? Um, and that, to me, is something that we don't often think about, that we need to really think about. And I'm not trying to stall, but I'm trying to figure this out while we're talking, because I think this is very important to think about. But
Absolutely.
you have any questions in the meantime to this wonderful guest hero, Marcus Martin, Agustin?
Yes, I know you're talking about homelessness and how many there are, all over in that. And, I was, especially down in Chicago, there's these, they call it Tent City, where you see all these orange tents. And God bless whoever donated these tents to them, because they're supposed to be somewhat insulated against the elements. And they even have a flooring on them that keeps them insulated off the floor, because, in the wintertime, it's cold. And I'm not sure how thick these orange tents are, but they cost quite a bit. And I'm not sure who donated it to these homeless people, but they are out there. And I see some of them even they've built some makeshift vents so they can put heating in there, like propane tanks and that. A little dangerous, but, anything to survive in that. But yes, I commend you on what you're doing. And I've worked with, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I've helped some homeless individuals in that. Are we ready, Eve?
Hold on, bear with me. I'm trying to see. It's like I'm doing the whole screen. Let me see if I'm able to. Here we go.
Is the mute button off on the video?
Is that the beginning?
No.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm looking at something different on. I'm looking at. I'm looking at it. Okay, I do apologize, because I hear it on my computer. Let me stop it again. Let me stop sharing. Forgive me. Let me stop sharing. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. I was watching it on, because, I multitask, so I'm watching it from another device so that I am seeing what you, the viewers, are watching, and I was able to hear it. But let me ask you, while I'm trying to work on this real quick, Brother Marcus, what has been the worst experience for you being sent out to the streets, as you said, and in some dangerous places? Because here's a story, that this show is to bring empathy, love, and respect from our audience, from people in general, especially towards our heroes. We may look at you and not even respect you. We can care less what you do. But when hearing the story of what you go through and what's it like to be who you are in your ministry, it brings us a sense of respect more for you towards your work and your ministry. But people, unfortunately, sometimes have to hear your story, right? What was the worst experience that you've had in working your ministry out on the streets?
Ooh, great question. It's a number of things. One that kind of sticks out to me was a woman who had had a hotel stay through one of the social services, but her time had run out and she didn't have anywhere to go. and we were contacted. It was Labor Day. It was Labor Day weekend. I won't forget. And so we were, in fact, I was just coming from Chicago from our homeless outreach ministry had that day. So I'm ready to get in the shower then I get the call. And so we responded. And of course, we always go through a survey with them to try to see, okay, what's going on. But also we're watching just some dynamics going around and interaction from people that's around that person. We're very mindful of what I'm gonna call a violation of boundaries. And you can see that there was some, just watching body languages of people that really weren't in really close to that person, but obviously had other motives. So anyway, during the time I was doing the intake with her, we came to a point where she shared with me that the previous week, she said, she actually had stayed, been told that it was okay to stay in a vacant apartment in this building. And people said, oh, it should be fine. And so she stayed there. Now, during the time she was in there overnight, she had a visitor that came in and sexually assaulted her. She had not communicated that with anyone. I was the first one to hear that information. So that's changed the whole process of what we were doing, because I feel like, okay, it was a week ago, but she needs to go into the hospital over in St. Catherine. I said, well, if I can get her to go there. So I had one of my women volunteers we call Safe from Harm. We always have, we're transporting a woman. One of our women staff or volunteer with us, if it's a male. So anyway, the sad part about it is that when she became homeless because of an issue with a relative, because she's supposed to have had a house, but the relative did not provide it. So her children were taken away from her. Mm-hmm. So she's already dealing with homelessness. Now her children are taken by the state away because she's in a home and she can't provide for them. And so she's devastated. And then now you get in a situation where you're sexually assaulted, but she didn't want to tell anyone because she didn't want nothing to interfere with her getting her kids back. Mm-hmm. And she felt that information will become an obstacle with her getting her children back. But we were able to get her to the St. Catherine Hospital, willingly go, and our case manager worked with her there. And we were able to get her into a place. I didn't have a place at that time, but we were able to get her into a place. And it's just stories like that you see that is invisible. People don't see these kind of things going on. And they don't realize it's not one isolated situation. Right. And we see that all the time. When you start getting over 400 phone calls in a year where people are reaching out, men and women, single and moms, you see the impact overall, that it's not just one person that's being impacted. Now you got children who are being impacted by the situation. But, in fact, that situation came to my mind when I had the fundraiser, A Night Without a Home. You may be familiar with that. A Night Without a Home. And my first night, I think it was November 8th, that Friday, I stayed on the gazebo by City Hall. I had no idea it was going to be as cold as it was that night, and the wind was just so... The wind was very violent that night. I remember being under the cover. I was protected, but I didn't know what was going on the other side of the covering that I had. So you're just there. You're very vulnerable. But I remember the enemy saying to me, "You know what you're doing is stupid. Nobody's going to support this." And you can really go home. Nobody gonna know you didn't stay out here all night. You can go home. And I thought, first of all, it's not stupid because it came from God for me to do it. It was not my idea. Number two, I said, that woman didn't have a chance to go to a safe place. She had to stay where she was. So I said, I'm going to stay here. And that week, that next week, I got a phone call from the Foundations of East Chicago saying we want to meet with you.
Yeah.
And I met with them, and they gave me very significant, support for what I was doing for that fundraiser. And this led me to be able to later on get the building that I have. So
That's awesome.
When God gives us something, it may be crazy, it may seem insane,
Right.
but
That is so true. That is so true. Let's try one more time, Brother Marcus. Hopefully we can actually see this. And let me see. I am actually viewing it on my phone and see if I'm able to.
the volume.
No, it's not coming out, is it? I'm actually sharing the screen. Let's see.
We're getting some volume now.
You got volume? Can you hear it?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard some.
No. Let's see. It should come on. I had it actually playing. It was there. It's on the screen right now. I could see both of you. I do apologize for this technical difficulty, guys.
It keeps coming up and then going down, going off.
Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, it's there. Now let me play it. Let's see.
No volume.
No, it's not. Sorry. And then the video is very interesting to see. It's actually to allow us to hear the testimonies of others. And you can find it on gracebeyondborders.org to play the video if we can't play it here, unfortunately. My apologies, but next time I will be better prepared with technology.
Thanks for playing.
We are growing, we are moving, and the thing is, and the most important thing is your story and your big heart and being obedient to what you were called to do. Here is an athlete, right? Here is an athlete, someone that probably had no clue. Did you even have a notion that you were going to be headed in that direction to serve in a ministry such as homelessness?
Not at all. I had no idea where I would be serving. I just knew that I felt very uncomfortable going to church, and that's it. I felt there was a calling on my life. I never knew that it would land into the arena of homelessness.
Wow.
You had your calling.
Yes.
You had your calling.
Definitely. And some people don't even know what is a calling. Do you want to give us the definition, or to our audience that's watching here, the definition of a calling? We have some watching and some believers as well. What's a calling?
Yes. Best described that it's something that is in your spirit. It's in your spirit where you're in tune. It's like being plugged in. You plug in your laptop, or you plug in your refrigerator, and boom, you got power. But if you unplug, then you're not connected. But when you're connected spiritually, you begin to hear things in your spirit, not in your ears, but hearing things in your spirit, and it's just something that is spoken, but in your spirit, and you begin to see it unfold, and you realize that you're being called and chosen to do something, and it's in line with the Word of God, everything in that whole process. So the voice that's speaking to you, the Holy Spirit. So it's through the Holy Spirit where I got my calling, and to do this work. I was actually at a leadership retreat for the second year that Apostolic Church of God was hosting, and we're out in the suburbs. And I remember we had different rooms called for different disciplines. One was a prayer room, One was a being silent before the Lord, where you go in and it's just silence. You just there being before the Lord. Another one dealt with, forgiveness. So we had all these rooms. I remember there was 2 rooms I hadn't completed on a Friday when everybody got free time to go out for lunch. And I remember saying, I just want to stay here and finish. And it was during that time when I was in the second of the 2 rooms I was going to, that I was there, and I just heard this very clear in my spirit that it was time for me to do what I was called to do. And that was in 2012. I mean, it was clear. And so it unfolded on that Friday. That Monday when I returned to work, I was called into the office, front office by CEO. So I go in the room, the CEO is there and the senior vice president, and they say, well, we're eliminating your position. And you have 2 options. One, you can take a directorship at one of the clubs, the Boys and Girls Club, or you can take your severance and, you get all your benefits, full benefits. And I had to restrain myself. I was like, wow, this timing. I was like, so you had this long hallway. I waited till I got in the long hallway and I said, thank you, Lord. Thank you. I'm being delivered out of Egypt from Pharaoh. But that's how it unfolded. Like things fall in place.
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
It's not just one thing. Everything would fall in place that was needed for me to make this journey. And one of the women from East Chicago who went through a homeless situation, I knew her very well, and I watched her go from place to place and really not making progress, not able to find a job. And, I would help and assist her. One day she called me, she says, I'm going to Fort Wayne. I said, okay, what's out in Fort Wayne? She says, there's a place that work with homeless women. I said, oh, okay. So several months later, she calls me back. She says, I have a place, I have my own apartment. I'm working. I said, what? I said, wait a minute, all these years you were here in the homeless situation, that never happened. I said, what was the difference? She said, they cared. And so I wanted to learn more about the place. She invited me out there. I met the CEO and they adopted me. Before I was even incorporated as Grace Beyond Borders, they said, hey, anything that you need, Reverend Donovan Coley, CEO, said anything that you need, we will help and assist you with. And they did. And that's how we were able to get to where we are now. So when you see all those things coming together, you just realize this calling on your life and you seeing it unfolding right before you. And, I didn't go out looking for those things. I did research and I looked at different places and who was working with the homeless. But to have that door open up like that,
yes,
it's amazing.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Any questions for Brother Marcus Augustine?
So from when you, how long did it take you to get your first, how can I say your first, well, let me rephrase that. What was your 1-year anniversary like? Let me put it that way.
Or 1-year anniversary, what did it look like?
Because a 1-year anniversary is monumental. It's monumental.
That you made it that far, right? Wow, it's been a year now.
My goal was to make contact with 100 people on the streets. And I would keep the names and the number, how many people. And actually, I accomplished that at the end of my first year. I did not have an office. I did not work out of a building. So I spent a lot more time on the streets on both sides of town in East Chicago, some in Gary. When I was out in Maryville, would encounter, someone out there that was homeless I would see walking down the street. I'm like, well, where are they going? I mean, there isn't any buses coming through here, and make contact and find out, about their situation. But I think having a better understanding of the magnitude. There, are homeless people out there, and there was help needed. So that first year, just being able to accomplish what I did on the streets and making the contact and building relationships, because we had one major event during my that first year, which was held at the Salvation Army. This was our Thanksgiving event, and this was huge. And we had over 200, I think it was like 270 people there for our first event.
Wow.
And I look at the capacity in a section of the building where we were. I said, we're exceeding the capacity. I said, don't let anybody else come in. But it was that kind of event that really allowed me and my team and my volunteers to really begin to make contact with people. So I knew once brushed in there, okay, we made it through the first year. Now, okay, second year, what are we going to do? How are we going to move forward? Where are we going to have the dollars coming from?
Right.
So those are the key things that,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So
then also it's a test of whether you really want to do it.
There you go. Were there moments where you actually just wanted to say, I really don't want to do this, knowing that you are saving lives, but I know that it wasn't easy for you, but I know that God pushed you, he saw you through it and he pulled you through it, and he's still doing it. Were there moments where you actually felt like, this is it, I just can't do this. I just don't want to.
And I want to say in 2019. 2019, and it was a summer. I said, we still don't have a building. We do have the dollars in reserve for it, but we don't have a building. We're not making any progress, And I said, God, why am I doing this? Why? Why am I doing this? I'm not making any progress and, things. And I talked it over with my wife. I said, you know what? I don't know. I'm not going, it seems like I'm not making any progress that I feel like I should be making. And why? Why am I doing? Maybe God wants somebody else to do it. I don't know. And I really felt that way. And then a door opened up. I received a phone call from the real estate agent of the building that we have now, because it was overpriced. And I couldn't justify even making a proposal for it. It just didn't make sense. There's just no way around it. And I remember sitting at McDonald's on Columbus Drive when I received a phone call. And she says, calling everyone that, is interested in the building because he's dropped the price significantly or taken the best offer. I'm like, I almost fell out my chair out the seat at McDonald's. Like, what? I called my legal counsel attorney, Teresa Guys. I said, this is what just happened. I said, what would be a best offer?
Wow.
So we came up with, the best offer. And again, I stay in the throne room, in other words.
And that's a message for everyone that's listening that may not be as close to God. This is a powerful testimony that Brother Marcus is sharing with us. He didn't come from, you said you weren't not much into church or serving. You were into basketball. You were into sports. You were doing your thing, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And here you are doing your thing. That was called upon for you to do. And so let me ask you, we've been talking about homelessness, but what about the victims? Are these just women and or men, or women and families? What about victims that are domestic violence?
That's huge. And we have trends throughout the years. It seems like we have a season where most of the calls are domestic violence against women. And then there'll be another season where there's just single women and men that are calling in for help, single mom. There'll be a season with single moms. We had a high migration of people calling over from Illinois. I said, what's happening over there? There's so many people that come out of the suburbs, so many women with children we're not a big, we don't have a big facility. So what's going on? So we have to look at that. But domestic violence is one that we have to look very, very closely in those situations. We had one situation last year in which a single mom called me, single mom with 5 children, ranging, the oldest was 10, the youngest was 1.
Wow.
She called me, she says, I've called everywhere and no one has any beds. And one of the things is, it's easy to say, okay, call at this number, or we don't have any beds, sorry, and hang up. Well, when it gets to Grace Beyond Borders, we work hard to make sure that we help that person. We got a lot of thank you and appreciations on phone calls because we take the time out. It's a lot of time we have to give, but we want to make sure we get the person the best. So anyway, with this single mom, I asked her about the situation, and the perpetrator only lived a few blocks from our building. And my next question was, does he own a gun? She says, yes. I said, okay. So this is not going to work out here. Because we're just sitting, and people know we're there. We don't have a name on the building, but people know we're there. Won't believe how many people know we're there. So I said, okay, we're going to help. I said, we're going to get you in a safe place. I said, if we don't, then I'll be out all night. I'll be sleeping in my vehicle. But we're going to get you to a safe place. So we made sure we kept them out of East Chicago, basically. And then we took the mom. Well, she had her own vehicle. We had the mom check in to a hotel that was out of sight, out of mind, away from out of Lake County, put it like that.
Right.
We want to make sure, especially if you got little kids. That was really significant, and we're not going to let that situation die. So we make sure they're in a safe place, make sure they have food. And I remember she called me. She says, my money doesn't come in until I think the next day or Monday or something. And she says, and we came after the meals were served or provided at the hotel. So she says, the girls are hungry or whatever. I said, okay, well, what should I, what would they like? And so it was pizza. And so I was able to find a place that was not far from the hotel and get the pizza. But the cutest thing, so I'll go in there with the pizza, right? The little ones are sitting around this table, the 6, 7, and 4-year-old. 4-year-old kind of ran the show, but they're all sitting around this table, the 10-year-old, and they're already there. And, they pray. I would tell you, it was a scene there. And just to see their innocence. Their innocence. They were not perpetrators or the cause of, somebody not being in their right mind or whatever, to feel it's okay to assault a woman, a mom with children. And I'm sure the children were around because of their ages. They weren't, in school. At least 2 of them were not. So, just seeing them there and their hands folded, I let one of them pray, lead the prayer. And those kind of images and situations will drive what I'm doing and make me say, okay, I got to work even harder. I got to make sure that we become even bigger. And, one of my visions, we got to you've been there to the building, Eve.
Yes.
I said, we need a second level and probably a third level up here. We need to build up because of the number of domestic violence cases that we're not even to handle. We only have 2 family rooms. I was excited when we got the building. Oh, yes, we got a family room. And we're like, you don't have enough room.
Right. That is sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
real quick.
Yeah, it's sad. It's good you have a place, but it's sad to see the number of people that you would have to turn away because of the capacity level you have in that building.
But we make sure that we do our best in getting them into some place. We've gone as far. I remember transporting a parent. I wasn't domestic violence, but a mom just devastated with the loss of her husband, and being in that situation and financially struggling, working, doing her best. But we had to transport them to Michigan City because we weren't even open then. We had to transport her and her children to as far as Michigan City. That's as far as east as we go. As far south as to Wheeler Mission in Indianapolis. And the furthest west is going to be Chicago, Pacific Garden Mission. So, you know, we work with we work in partnerships with other places to make sure that we really bring a solution to a number of them that really want. Now we got who really want a solution and not a handout.
Right.
We got to separate who wants. You know, if you want just a handout, then we're not the place for you. Because we're going to give and we're going to stick to giving you a hand up. So be ready to move forward.
Right. And that's a great segue to wrap up this show. I'm going to quote the inspirational quote that you have on your website, Brother Marcus. And for those that want more information, you see the website, gracebeyondborders.org. I love this scripture. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you visited me. And that's the Gospel of Matthew. And that is what you are definitely doing, Brother Marcus. You will be blessed tenfold. And as you know, we have to speak things into existence, speak those things that are not as though they were. So if God gave you that vision, and you already have that building, and he's giving you the vision of looking up to 2 more floors, you know, he gives you that vision, what's coming right after that.
Thank you. I appreciate you and a joy to meet you also, Augustine. I'm glad I had this opportunity. I couldn't turn it down. That's okay. Eve's called me. I had to just do it. And willfully do it for my sister, you know, and I know you're diligent in what you're doing and the work and your heart for the Lord. You know, I'm very, very familiar with that. So I wanted to do this, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Definitely. We do want to put you out there so that others can bless you. This is being watched from all over the country and in some cases out of this country, depending on who decides to join in. We are in 6 different platforms. And for those that are on Twitch TV, thank you for joining us as well. Go into the website. What is the most that you need? Obviously, money. We can never have enough, but you know, God will shower that and bless you with that. But what is the most thing? What's your biggest ask right now?
Well, just to share with you, for our 10th anniversary, we have. Yes.
Happy anniversary.
God bless you.
Thank you. And I just reminded, I'm 10 years older in that process. But anyway, for our 10th anniversary, I set a goal of raising $100,000 to really help out with the staff. And we're working with a very small staff. We're 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And as soon as we finish this interview, I'm taking a nap because I have the night shift tonight at 11 o'clock. And I need to take a nap before I do that, because after my shift tonight, I had to be on the road to the southern part of Indiana. So I have to get my rest. But yeah, that's our goal. We really want to plug in some more staffing. We want to make sure that we got all the resources and things that we need for the residents that we have in our building now, the family and the other ones. And then also we have more people coming in. And we know that's going to be real taxing on our team, what we have now. We have to grow. So any support for that to help us reach our goal is going to be phenomenal.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure you could always use volunteers until the funding come in so that you can employ more staff to support you. So what's the best way to reach someone at your office or you in case they'd like to serve and they find that their calling is to also go out and help and bless someone? Because when God wants you to be a blessing. It's a blessing for you as well, right? So what's the best?
Yes. Okay, we have some, the volunteers really drive what we're doing, and we have some super volunteers. I call them super volunteers. But they can always call our 219-392-9932 business line. Again, that's 219-392-9932 and leave a message. But also gracebeyondborders.org. There's a volunteer application on there. They can complete it online, ship it to us, and we'll receive that and follow up with that volunteer application.
And I also put it here on the chat. And thank you everyone for joining us. Brother Marcus, thank you once again. I hope that you get enough rest and that you feel energized and ready to serve tonight. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for being obedient to your calling. You are saving lives. You are a hero.
Thank you, my sister Eve and my brother Augustine. I appreciate you. And when you're praying and doing your prayers, on the legal pad, that little small line at the bottom where no one writes on that little bitty. If you squeeze Grace Beyond Borders in there, then Grace Beyond Borders NWI Inc. That would be most helpful.
It's coming.
Wow.
It's coming.
It is coming.
You
will have it. Just speak those things that are not as though they were, and it's happening.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless you, and to everyone.
God bless you, and continue to help you prosper in what you are doing there.
And hopefully, I can be back on your show when I do get that second level. At least we won't wait till the third. We get it when the second.
Yes.
As we grow, we want to be able to share with you.
Definitely. Thank you once again. You have a blessed evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. And there's a lot of heroes out there, and I just could not have him on our show because many people don't realize to what extent people go out of their way to help someone else.
That's right.
And I so appreciate his work and his dedication to serving.
Absolutely.
It's just great.
I think the difference between him and, let's say, a first responder is that I'm not saying all, they get a paycheck. This guy is out there, like he said, he's got to be on night shift. This is his passion. He's doing it from his heart. He's doing it from a heart. That is a true hero.
That's true right. Hero. Amen to that. And so we need people to go and donate. We need people to sow a seed into Grace Beyond Borders. I know we went over just a few minutes, but it's okay. It's the message. That's the message that's being put here on this broadcast. The message from a humble man that had no idea he was going to do what he's doing now. And because he said yes to God, this is why he's saving people every single day. And I know what it's like when you have to find a bed or place for a homeless person and or a family. I've been there. I know what that's like. Or have to take him in your car to take him into a hotel.
Yeah. I'll share this real quick, and I know we got to wrap.
Yes.
I've experienced homelessness from being in my own room with my own bed till the next night I was sleeping on a concrete floor in my cousin's basement. But with that,
wow. Eve, we are blessed.
Yes.
Beyond measures. We are blessed. Thank you, Augustine, for coming on with me. We appreciate it. God bless you guys. And until next time, next Thursday at 8 p.m. here on The Face of a Hero. See ya. Nos vemos. Good night.